Football as you know it is about to die. In this video, we'll be analyzing the biggest changes in world football for the year 2024 and how they will impact the game forever. Make sure you stay until the end of the video because there will be some controversial takes that I can't wait to hear your opinion about. So without further ado, let's get right to it. The first biggest change is that 2024 will most likely mark the end of either Ronaldo or Messi's career. I'm not saying they'll be fully retired, but the next editions of the Copa America and the Euros will probably be the last time we'll see the two GOATs playing in international tournaments. Messi has no reason to participate in the next World Cup since he has already won the trophy, and although Cristiano wishes he could have one more shot at conquering the missing piece in his trophy cabinet, it's unlikely that he'll get there since any injury at this point can be career-ending. I know it's hard to imagine football without them, but the moment is coming sooner rather than later. Besides, it's not only the two GOATs that will hang up their boots. 2024 will also wipe the surviving pieces of the last generation, with guys like Benzema, Modric, Müller, Neymar and Ramos also being very likely to retire. I know it's sad, especially if you grew up with them, but that's just part of life. Something else that will shake the football world is the introduction of new competition formats. The Champions League and the World Cup at both club and international level are about to change. First up, the Champions League. The iconic tournament that has captivated us for generations is evolving. No longer will it be a predictable group stage affair. Instead, it's ushering in a new era. 36 elite teams will battle it out instead of 32, and the group stage as we know it will be abolished. There will still be an initial draw, but instead to determine the 8 clubs, 2 from each pot, that each team will have to play against. This will result in 8 teams in the first round and many clashes between giants. The Europa League will follow the exact same blueprint, while the Conference League will have the same system, but with only 6 matches. I really hope you understood this format, because it took me almost an hour to digest this. But anyways, at least a new Club World Cup will be easier to comprehend, as a new and expanded tournament will follow the same format as a Nations World Cup. 32 teams divided into 8 groups of 4, with the best 2 teams advancing to the round of 16. The competition will now be played in the summer every 4 years and will have a host nation just like any international tournament. On the other hand, the World Cup will become even bigger, expanding from 32 to 48 teams, with the country split into 12 groups of 4. The top 2 of each group and the 8 best third place teams will advance to a round of 32. Too bad that these changes were made simply to make the most money possible, completely disregarding the safety and physical integrity of the players. And speaking of money, the other massive change in the next year is that the Saudi League will become one of the top 5 leagues in the world. Everyone called Cristiano crazy when he said that, but with each passing day, his prediction is becoming a reality. The Chinese Super League, the MLS and pretty much every other Arab league could never aspire to break into the top 5 because they were always seen as a retirement home for footballers past their prime. The story was always the same. A few top players would join a league, but there weren't that many, and those who came didn't have the drive to raise its competitive level. On the contrary, the Saudi League boasts a multitude of superstars alongside a substantial pool of talented footballers, and the more players they attract now, the more they will continue to draw in the future. Besides, going to Saudi Arabia doesn't kill a player's career. They still get called up to the national team, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Saudis bribe their way into participating in the Champions League with the excuse of being guest teams or something like that. But hey, if you still aren't convinced, look at it this way. Ligue 1 is the 5th best league in the world. They have PSG and then a bunch of average teams. There's not a single team in France that constantly performs well in the league and in Europe other than PSG. And if you're not a French viewer, I can almost bet with you that you can name more players from the Saudi League than the French League. History and heritage must be respected of course, but time doesn't stand still. The Scottish League at one point had the best teams in the world, but nowadays you'd be forgiven for only knowing Rangers and Celtic. Continuing on the topic of changes in the league pyramid, the gap between the Premier League and the rest will grow even more. We saw a preview of what the future might hold in this last transfer window, with teams like Aston Villa, West Ham and Newcastle stealing players from the biggest clubs in Europe, and even clubs like Fulham refusing to sell to Bayern Munich. This phenomenon will only become more evident in 2024, with 5 English teams participating in the Champions League, and in no time, we could be seeing the Premier League turn into the NBA of football, where no matter the club's position in the league, they'll still have the power to draw stars away from historic teams. This is really bad news if you like other European leagues, because their competitive level will decrease as a consequence. The once exciting La Liga is already turning into a farmers' league due to the financial decline of teams like Valencia or Sevilla, while the Bundesliga and Liga 1 are becoming even more unbalanced as time progresses. In the end, all these changes that we'll see in the next year will be the beginning of the fall of European football. The European national teams are not stronger by any means. The once dominant Germany, Spain, Belgium and Italy are going through dark phases in their history, and although the golden generations of Portugal and England look good on paper, they always fall short when push comes to shove. France seems to be the best national team right now, but they have so much chaos going on in their locker room that makes it impossible to believe they can be constantly dominating like Spain or Germany in the past. On the flip side, you got the South American teams who on paper don't have the best squads, but they always form strong groups that are deadly as a unit. The African national teams are also evolving due to having many players in the biggest teams in the world. Morocco already made history in the last World Cup, and Senegal could have gone further if it wasn't for Mane's injury. Even at club level, the scenario doesn't look enticing. To put it simply, non-European players only look to sign with European clubs to make the jump to the Premier League or to Real, PSG, Bayern or Barca. Therefore, as soon as the offer comes, they'll leave, with the clubs having to find another gem to replace them. And since they have so much instability in the squads, they can never build a solid foundation, and constant success will be unlikely for anyone out of that select group. In the best case scenario, that will downgrade sides like Juve, Inter and Atletico to the levels of teams like Ajax, Porto and Benfica, and in the worst, will bankrupt those who can't optimize their scouting. But what do you think? Is European football about to die? Let me know in the comments and let's start the discussion. Leave a like if you want to watch more content like this, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss the most interesting football discussions, stories and news. Thank you for watching until the end, I appreciate you and I will see you soon.